Welcome to this episode of Surviving the Fog. We're going to be looking at the hatch spawns in the Backwater Swamp map of the Pale Rose. Now, before we get into it, I just want to let you guys know that we do stream throughout the week at twitch.tv/parkless. So come on by, check us out. If you have any questions about DBD or anything in general, come on by. I'm more than happy to answer anything to the best of my ability, at least. Now, for those who don't know, whenever the map starts, it'll randomly place a hatch somewhere throughout the map. You won't know where it is until a couple criteria happens. The first one is the amount of finished generators plus the amount of dead survivors equal to a total of 5. So if there are 5 generators finished and 0 survivors are dead, the hatch will show up, meaning the exit gates are powered. If there are 4 generators finished and only one survivor is dead, the hatch will show up. 3 generators finished and 2 dead, and then 2 generators finished and 3 dead. It'll also show up if you're the last remaining survivor, no matter how many generators are finished, and it will also only open if there is a single survivor left on the map. So what we aim to do here is to try and show you all of the possible hatch spawns on a map, so you're better attuned at looking for where the hatch may spawn if you happen to be that last survivor alive and you're not walking around with a map or sole survivor or anything like that. So without further ado, let's dig into the hatch spawns of Backwater Swamps, the Pale Rose. Now, to make this more in line with our totem videos, we're going to split this up into 3 sections to make it easier for you to jump around and find the spawns that you're looking for. We're going to have the outer ring of hatch spawns, we're going to have the inner ring of hatch spawns, and then we're going to have hatch spawns around the main buildings. So we're going to put some timestamps here for you just to make it easier for you. So let's go on in and look at some of these spawn locations. All right, so the first spawn we're going to look at is going to be in the corner of the map. This one is the corner boat spawn. It also shares a spawn with a totem. You'll notice it because it has a overturned rowboat, as well as 2 large trees and a rock. Sometimes a hook will spawn here, and like I said, sometimes you'll also find a totem. This one will spawn in the far back of the tile, more closer to the outer corner of the map itself. This is one of the only maps where the hatch will actually spawn in the corners. All right, this next one is going to be another corner spawn. It's going to spawn on the poglog tile. This is also going to share a spawn with a totem. If you haven't seen the totem spawns, go ahead and check out that video so you'll get more acquainted where these can spawn. Now, this corner is the poglog. Why it's called the poglog is because it has a vault through the log and a very long loop, and this will spawn in pretty much the exact corner of the map. All right, this next one's a little tricky. It's another boat tile, but instead of the one overturned boat, it's going to be a boat that is split in half by a tree. Now, this hatch spawn is actually on the very tippy corner of the tile itself. If you'll notice here in just a little bit, you're going to see it's actually pretty much right up next to the exit gate, and it's a little hidden because of the positioning in the tile. So this one might be a little tricky. You see the split boat, look to the top left of the tile, and you should find the hatch if it's going to be there. All right, here's that exact same tile in a different position of the map. It's more toward the outer wall, toward one of the corners rather than the exit gate. So here you can see that it can be in a different location, And it's a little slightly easier to see the hatch here because the exit gate's not in the way with their extra boat. So again, just walk all around the outside path and you should see a hatch. All right, as we move towards the inside of the map, this first one we're going to look at is an inner boat tile that usually has a pallet. Now this tile is kind of a crossroads, where if you don't know, a crossroads is where the junk in the tile creates a plus kind of cross formation. So this one's a little easy to notice. This hatch is going to be where the part of the boat is facing up out of the ground. All right, now another one of the inner tiles is going to be another boat tile, but this one has more of a solid boat. Not much going on here. There's some tree stumps and the boat, but really not much else. Sometimes there's going to be a generator. This is kind of more of a nature tile. It has the one main boat and a couple bits and pieces of a boat kind of scattered throughout. This hatch is going to be again on the edge of the tile, not really towards the middle. So if you see the broken pieces of the boat, you should see the hatch spawn there. And again, this is on the inside of the map. The next inner tile we're going to look at is going to be the grass tile. Now this one is usually around the main boat, and it can usually spawn about 3-4 of them around the boat, so keep an eye out. The hatch is actually pretty easy to spawn. It's going to be spawning in the middle of the tile, and there's going to be a slight clearing in the grass. It's usually pretty easy and straightforward to see as long as you're looking relatively towards the center of the tile. Now, if you're watching this and wondering where are the jungle gyms, well, have no fear, the jungle gyms are here. This is going to be the L-wall T-wall jungle gym that's going to spawn on the corner of the map between the small boat and the Pill Rose itself, perpendicular to them, creating a little corner. Anyway, so this is your standard L-wall T-wall tile, and on many of the other maps, the hatch is going to spawn in pretty much the same place as this one here. It's going to be towards the center, kind of offset right next to the pole in the middle of the gym. All right, the next tile we're going to look at has been debated on calling it a main building or not, because it's going to be in the exact same spot every single time the map loads. However, the orientation is going to be slightly different, and that's why I am not going to be labeling it as such. This is the Pier. The Pier is probably the second or the third most well-known tile in all of the Pill Rose. It is probably the most powerful tile in, I'm going to say, the entire game, because it's actually, the lower section is 2 or 3 jungle gyms mashed together in one. The upper part is a semi-jungle gym, and if you can link them all together, it is super powerful and you can waste a lot of time. Now, the hatch here is going to be in a similar spawn to a lot of the jungle gyms. It's going to be close to the back of the tile underneath the pier on the left side of the ramp, and it's going to be waiting for you right there. The next inner tile we're going to look at is another very well-known tile. It's going to be the hill rock junk tile. You're going to usually have a very nice pallet here on this tile, sometimes a generator, usually a totem, but this hatch is going to be spawning right next to the shack. Now, it's not the actual shack hatch, so if you're looking for the shack hatch by doing the offering, this is not where the hatch is going to be. This is a separate tile. It's going to be up the hill toward the shack in the corner of the tile, right next to where the pallet's going to spawn. Now, this inner tile is going to be the tree inner tile. This tile is going to spawn usually next to the jungle gym and the smaller boat, towards the outer part of the inner section of the map, if that makes sense. Not exactly up against the back wall, but not actually towards the middle near the big boat. This hatch is pretty easy to spot. It's usually going to be the back end of the tile, where right before you get to the little inclined area to go towards the actual back part of the map. So take a look to the back of the tile and you might just find a hatch there. All right, now this is another tile that can spawn near the shack. It's going to be the fallen tree tile. If you're looking at the shack, it's usually going to be to the right side of the shack. Now, this is another one where the hatch seems like this is the shack hatch spawn, but it's not. It's actually a separate spawn. Much like the other hill, the corner rock tile. This one is going to be to the back of the tile, up the hill, next to the shack, near where a pallet can spawn, but it's not actually going to be the shack hatch spawn. So watch out for that. Well, since we've been talking about the shack so much, we're going to start out our main building spawn with the shack. Now, everybody should know the shack. The killer shack spawns on most of the maps. It's a very specific building. It'll have the same layout. It'll have 3 entry points, one of which is a window. One of the entry points will have a pallet. Sometimes it's going to have the basement. It'll have 2 lockers upstairs, sometimes a chest, sometimes a generator, and sometimes a totem. Now, the hatch is going to spawn on the outside away from the window. The next main building tile we're going to look at is going to be the smaller fishing vessel. This hatch is usually pretty easy to spot. It's going to be towards the inside of the map. It's going to be on the starboard side of the ship. For those who don't know nautical talk, it's going to be the right side of the front of the ship, right next to where that little ramp is. Well, as we wrap up this video, we're getting to the very last hatch. This is the main building, the centerpiece of the map, the Pale Rose itself. We're going to be ending on it. So for those of you who stuck it out with us this long, thank you so much. I hope you all found it very informative and enjoyed it. If you guys know how YouTube works. If you liked it, go ahead and hit a like. If you want to see more, make sure you hit that sub button. Share the video with your friends who may or may not be having some issues finding the hatch or paw totems or just anything about Dead by Daylight in general. So you guys are awesome. Stay awesome. Now, this final hatch, the one on the Pale Rose itself, is not actually going to be on the ground. It's going to be onside the Pale Rose. It's going to be on the bow side. Now, for those who don't know nautical talk, again, the bow is going to be the very front of the ship. So thank you all. We love you very much. And remember, stay safe out there in the fog.